Let's do this. Hi and welcome to a new video. If you're new here, I'm Anne and I'm a full-time artist living in Los Angeles. This is going to be a paint with me video where I answer some questions from my newsletter subscribers, which you can become one in the link below. The theme is going to be finding motivation, developing a unique style, and things like that. Please like the video and subscribe, and let's get going. So the first question I got was, how do you find motivation? To quote painter Chuck Close, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. If you wait around for the clouds to part and a bolt of lightning to strike you in the brain, you are not going to make a lot of work. All the best ideas come out of the process. They come out of the work itself. And I would totally agree with that quote, and that's why I shared it here. I find that if I have something that drives me as an ultimate goal, that's what motivates me to get going. Whether it's a health goal, a personal goal, a career goal, find that thing that you really want out of what you want to do and then chase after it. Like, obviously this can change a lot, but here are some ideas. What's a piece you want to master? What's something you really want to make or that you really want to exist? What's your dream life? How do you take steps to get closer to that every day? Like, I always wanted to have a beautiful art studio where I make art for a living full time, and I really focused on working on that, even when all I had was a coffee table I got for $25 from the flea market and a very dark studio apartment. Also, consider the people you admire and want to be like. Let their lives motivate you to work towards the things you want creatively. This is easier than ever since we have Instagram and all sorts of social media to be exposed to all sorts of different types of artists and creatives living the life that they want to do. People who have left the grind of cities to move to the French countryside, or artists who started off living at their parents' house and now have funded their own studio. There's so many different ways to learn about different lives you want, and I call them expanders, people who really expand what's possible in your mind in this world. And so just really look for those people, and that kind of helps with motivation too. And then one of my favorite tricks for getting myself started when I'm not motivated is my art trap. I call it an art trap, but it's anywhere you can permanently set up your supplies. It can be a corner of a dining room table, a corner of your desk in your bedroom, maybe your nightstand, anything where you can set out permanently your tools, your sketchbook, your tablet, your iPad, your pens, your paints, whatever. So it's really easy to just sit down and start. You don't have to pull everything out and set it all up, because that is going to add more resistance to wanting to get started. So it's just taking away all of those hurdles and then making it so tempting to just want to sit down in this little romanticized corner of your life to start making art. And then finally, motivation breeds motivation. Circling back to that Chuck Close quote I said in the beginning, when you start the process and starting being the hardest part, you'll want to keep going and improving as you learn. You'll get into the flow, which is just super important for doing deep creative work. And the next right step will appear in front of you when you're working on something. But you got to start. Okay, question number 2. Where do you get inspiration? So I get inspired almost all the time, but I definitely have times where I have art block, but that usually means I'm too burnt out and I just need to take a nap, take a day off, go outside, go to a different location besides my home, see new friends I haven't seen in a while, just do something different to really shake things up in my brain and clear the cobwebs. But other than that, when I'm usually inspired, and I always have more ideas than I'll ever execute in this life, and I think that applies to most creative people, it's by leaning into my favorite things. And these are also things I'm doing all the time, almost daily, so that I do stay inspired and excited about life, which then fuels my creative life. So my favorite things include reading, watching films and TV shows, traveling's a big one, baking and cooking, gardening, looking at art of other artists by going to shows and museums, having meals in beautiful spaces, spending time with my husband and friends, and playing with my pets. So I was inspired for this video to paint a scene from the new Barbie movie because I haven't been this excited for a movie in a really long time. And then make the things you're really excited about. Make the art, make the fan art, make your own version of things that you're really excited about, whether it's Taylor Swift Eras concert or a Court of Thorns and Roses or anything you're really just like a fan of. Like, make art of that if it inspires you to, and then you're going to find your audience because they'll share that interest with you and they will likely be interested in other things you're interested in. And then if I'm really, really stuck, or if I just feel like kind of bored by all the same old things, I will dip into TikTok or YouTube to see where the internet universe is going to guide me, because both of those are really great for just showing me things that are totally new to me or take me down rabbit holes that I wouldn't have thought of when I really want to get lost and learn something new. The most important thing about inspiration is that you really can't sit around and wait for it to hit you. You really have to get curious and stay curious and be engaged with the world, read about what's going on in the world, like your favorite sites or news sites or whatever, or books, and let that take you down a rabbit hole of things or people you're curious about. I mean, the idea for my first book, Bad Girls Throughout History, which is a brief history on 100 amazing badass women, came from reading an article about Ada Lovelace, who is the world's first computer programmer. Not the world's first female computer programmer, but the world's first computer programmer. And she was also the daughter of famous romantic poet Lord Byron. And so that was so fascinating to me, and that sparked the idea for me of who were the first women to do things, and not necessarily first woman to do it, but the first to do it. Those are the fascinating stories I wanted to explore. So you never know where you're going to go. Reading is a big thing for me, but maybe it's not for you, and maybe it's like YouTube wormholes. Just find the thing that keeps you curious and keep going down that path. And then question number 4, which is a really long question that I really appreciate, and I wanted to explore some of the things this questioner asked. So here we go. Question 4. As an artist, my style is always evolving, and sometimes I go through phases of different styles. Do you think it's important to hold on to one discernible style, or is it okay to go with the flow and embrace whatever style is in at the moment? Have you ever wanted to experiment with something new, a new technique, material, medium, etc., but felt that you had to stick with what your audience wants, has grown to expect from you, and if so, how did you handle that? Great questions. So the first is, I do think it's important to have a discernible style if you want to be hired by companies to make art, because they need to know what they're hiring for. Companies and creatives work collaboratively towards the same vision. So you wouldn't go to a company to buy something and not expect the same thing. You wouldn't go somewhere and not know what you're going to get, right? You're not going to go to Target and look for... Actually, Target's a terrible one because Target sells a lot of things. But say you're not going to go to the Gap and find stuff like whimsical clothes you'd find at Anthropologie. So the more important thing is that style is not just about mediums or techniques that you're using. It's about your voice, your vibe, your point of view. Being an artist is a lifelong journey where we're constantly evolving, and what you want to do is be a thought leader and take your audience with you. Artists are not only creating artwork, but the nature of being an artist is about leading with your creative heart. Your path needs to make sense for an audience, and spending time early on developing your voice is really important. Style is just your voice coming through. You know what you like, what you value, and what topics you care about. The medium kind of follows that, whatever medium you feel like would be the best fit for that project or makes the most sense, that'll naturally come up for you. And of course, you'll practice your skills and techniques with the mediums that you like and gravitate towards. And that again will still feed into your taste, and that's what forms your voice. So for example, say you love to draw anthropomorphic cats. It wouldn't be too weird for you to paint them digitally and then make mosaics of them. See how the medium doesn't really matter? Sometimes you can really set apart your style with just the way you handle your line work or your color palettes you always use. Or maybe it's just similar subjects. You're always drawing all sorts of animals. And then maybe you want to transition to landscapes, but the common thread of your color palettes or the way you handle line work or the way you handle shapes is going to be the thing that still ties it all into your style. And then when you look back, it's all going to connect. So don't be afraid to evolve and take people with you. Like, evolution is super important for an artist, and if you don't evolve, that kind of leads to burnout a lot. And whenever I feel burnt out, I feel like it's a sign that it's time to evolve, experiment with new mediums, try something new. And then when you look back, it's all going to connect. So don't be afraid to evolve and take your people with you. You might lose some people along the way, which is totally fine, because I firmly believe that if you're true to your own voice, you will find your audience. And then the last question is, how did you find your own style? I have a whole video on this with 3 tricks, which I'll link at the end of this video. But the main thing is to explore your own interests, stay curious, make work you like, and make a lot of work. And then soon, you'll find your own style emerging. So I hope these were helpful, and if you have any more questions for me about being a full-time artist or becoming an artist or anything you'd like to see in future YouTube videos, please let me know and leave your questions below in the comments. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.